Right, I'm filling in for Mr. Saltbury, who has two teams in the final eight, as well as Jay Wild, who's also got the Suns and the Sixers. But yeah, Bray has the Hawks and the Utah Jazz, and that is where we're going to head. We're going to head to Salt Lake City next to talk about a game which was an incredible game. The Clippers v the Jazz. The Jazz pull it out 112-109, and Rudy Gobert has a stamp on his Defensive Player of the Year with a key block at the end of the game. Am I still salty about the decision? A little bit, but I'd rather take the ring over the award. But yeah, Matt, do you want to speak about your Clippers?
Yeah, disappointing really from the Clippers. They were up by, I think, either 12 or 13 at the half. So you'd expect them from that position to try and close out the game. The Jazz obviously went on a run, got back in that. And there's a few things I want to speak about. There's Paul George, who had an off night. He was 4 for 17 from the field, and 3 of those were 3-point shots. So he was actually 1 with 8 from inside the arc, which is just not good enough from someone who's of his caliber. So he only managed to get 20 points. And then even when Kawhi had an okay night, he got 23 points. But if Paul George is misfiring that much, Kawhi needs to be really on it. So I think that's where the main reason why the Clippers didn't really have enough to power past the Jazz. And because in the end, like the points contribution off the bench was still good. I think Kennard still picked up like a really decent amount of points off the bench. I think Zubac came off the bench as well. Like that's doing well for them. It's just the star from Paul George is just missing. That's really disappointing. And then the second thing I just want to touch on is that final play at the end, which you mentioned with the Rudy Gobert block, which was, hold my hands up, that's a great block by Gobert. But I think when Donovan Mitchell missed that pull-up jumper, there was still 15, 16 seconds on the clock after the Clippers had collected the rebound and
no timeout.
Yeah, no timeout. Why was there no timeout called?
Maybe they wanted to catch the Jazz off guard. That's normally what happens. But the Jazz switched everything, didn't they? As they've been doing all year. And Gobert gets a block. You don't want Morris. And the fact that the Jazz stopped their 2 best players from even attempting is incredible. I think that's a real testament to how good the Jazz are. The couple of points that I want to make, I'm gonna make a comparison. So Donovan Mitchell, 45 points. He shot 16 of 30. To me, I'm going to compare him to a player. I see what you guys think about this. A lot of people compare him to Dwayne Wade, who was at the courtside game. I think Donovan Mitchell is like Allen Iverson. And the reason I think he's like Allen Iverson is because he's probably the most relentless player in the league. He's always going to take his shots. If he's going to try and get out of a rut, he will just keep on coming, keep on going, and the Jazz will feed him the ball. Unlike the Sixers era where the Sixers relied on Allen Iverson for offense, and that was it. But that's what I see from Donovan Mitchell, as somebody who is always going to give 100%. He's always going to be going down fighting. And Matt, you said a point about Luke Kennard. I'm going to flip that. When Donovan Mitchell was heating up in that second half, a lot of his buckets, he was getting switches onto Kennard and then utilizing and abusing him. So yes, Kennard got 18 points. Great. But if you can't stop it down the other end, look what happens. And I guess the final point I'll make about this, the Jazz win without their 3rd best player.
Oh, Conley.
Yeah. And that's and he's actually out for game 2. And I think that Utah have probably taken a look at this and said, okay, well, we don't need to rush him back. We've won the first game. Let's see how we do for game 2.
Yeah.
And people were talking about Clippers are the strongest team in the West because of this whole recency bias. They still went to 7 games against the Mavs. Let's not get sidetracked by this, okay? Let's not get drawn in by, the Lakers are out, so the Clippers are surely the premier team. They've always let us down.
Go on, man.
I still fancy the Clippers, though, just I think that you've obviously touched on the fact that Conley's missing the next game, and like that was like Mitchell. Like Mitchell's an incredible player, but that was him at his best. And the Clippers had a bit of an off night at times, and it was still a really close game. So I wouldn't really be surprised if the Clippers did take game 2, and then go back to LA, and then this. I think the Clippers could take this in 7.
So I've got a couple of things to say because obviously House Lasku, the number 1 seed, had both these two teams in the regular season.
How's Lasky about to get bounced from the
Shut
playoffs?
up. All right. I'm just on my Giannis flex.
This is when he realised
I'm
House
beating
Lasku
on all
messed
you in the
up.
regular season. Then when it gets to the playoffs, I'm just not going to turn up because I don't have any shooters around me. But that's going to be my excuse moving forward. The reason I brought that up is because even just that last possession from the Clippers Jazz game, I just felt like it's exactly what we've been saying for the whole year. When it gets to late game offense, Clippers have just got these dead plays, these dead ISO plays that generate average shots. So at the end of the play, there's like an off the ball screen, and it's just such a weak screen. It's a half-assed screen. The switch doesn't even happen. It's just half-assed, and then takes a contested 3-pointer. Or no, he passes it off, and then it gets to whoever. I can't remember the Clippers guy who took the 3-pointer that got blocked.
Morris.
Goes to Morris. It's a bit of a pump fake, and then Gobert bites, but then he's quick enough to readjust his body position, get down, and get his arm out to where Morris is to get the block off. And even the play literally before that, before the pass, there was some great defense there as well. So Jazz were able to really stifle the late game offense from the Clippers, which was, again, as you mentioned, non-existent. But as Matt was saying, Paul George did play poorly, and you're not expecting this to happen 2 games in a row. Then, as Alex said, Mike Conley was out. Mike Conley is their primary ball handler. He is their primary playmaker. He's a Chris Paul light, poor man's Chris Paul, if you would like. Without him, their best playmaker is Donovan Mitchell, but you'd rather him shooting the ball, and Joe Ingles. Those are his playmakers outside. But either way, I am still taking Utah just because the Clippers did just come out a 7-game series where they disappointed against the Mavs with 1 star player. You prefer the supporting cast of Utah to step up compared to the Mavs supporting cast.
What are you saying, Double L? Series prediction?
I'm going to have to back my boys Clips in 7.
It's so not happening.
You and Marcellus Wiley, only 2.
It is so not happening. Jazz in 5. Easy.
Ooh, wow.
Get it out. Get out of the way. Easy. I'm not backing this Clippers team at all.
He's off.
No, there might be a curb your enthusiasm to come. Okay. So literally just another just a wrap up. The Suns are 2-0 up against the Nuggets, so I'm potentially going to be swept out of the playoffs as well. I think it's going to be a battle. Who's going to be swept out first, me or Ed? Depending on which games first, probably. Yeah. I mean, Ed, it's probably going to happen, man. But yeah, we'll see. And then you've got Philly Hawks. That's a very interesting series. That's tied at 1. Hopefully watching that with Wildy, game 3.
Can we have a worry meter? How worried are you for Philly? On a scale of 1 to 10.
No, I'm fine. I still think we win it in 6. I'm worried, but I'm okay.
On a scale, how worried are you?
10 being the most worried?
Yeah. Incoming montage. Go on.
Say 4.
Okay.
4.
And is that how many games the Hawks are going to win the series?
But do you know why I'm worried? Because of the Hawks bench, and because if JoJo gets actually properly injured, because he's dominating right now, and if he gets injured, it's over. It's over. It's goodbye. But yeah, we'll see. Thank you, boys, for jumping on as usual. From the 6th man, Lancashire Laimbeer, House of 03, and House Lasku, it is over and out. And come on, England.